What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Dark Chocolate DX, and this is my Logan review. Now, I call it my Logan review, but I'm going to be talking about more than just Logan, Hugh Jackman, and the X-Men universe in general. So, this movie's been out for just under 2 weeks here in America anyway. Definitely a movie worth seeing in theaters, so if you haven't seen it yet, definitely want to go check it out before you watch this video, especially if you don't like spoilers. So with that said, let's get into it. So, this movie is interesting for a couple of reasons. One is rated R. So this and Deadpool are the only R-rated Marvel movies to come out since Punisher Warzone all the way back in 2008. I'm so glad it was rated R. All these movies with Wolverine, him stabbing people, and no blood coming out all these years drove me insane. So I got a lot of satisfaction out of this movie, seeing him gut people and blood actually flying everywhere. So that's one thing I liked about it. Also, this movie takes place in 2009, and we learn that the Adventures of the X-Men has actually become a comic book series, just like how it is in real life. Now, the thing about this movie is you really can't call it an adaptation of any well-known Wolverine storyline. It hardly has anything in common to do with Death of Wolverine or Old Man Logan, but it does retain the depressive mood. This movie is freaking depressing, people. It's not Civil War or even X-Men Apocalypse where you're enjoying it, it's fun, you know, it's a joyride. This is not that. This is, oh my gosh, it's so sad. And it's supposed to be. Because, you know, this is Hugh Jackman's last movie as Wolverine. And you can kind of feel that in this movie, you know? Like, it's safe to assume that Fox would have continued to use Hugh Jackman for many future X-Men movies. And you can feel like that this was an abrupt end to his part in the universe, because there are so many questions the viewer is left to ponder. When I was going into this movie, I had a bunch of questions that I was hoping were going to get answered. I wanted to know, like, why was there a Mr. Sinister reference at the end of X-Men Apocalypse? I wanted to know why Mystique was posing as Stryker at the end of Days of Future Past. How did that affect the future? I wanted to know if the events of the Wolverine, where he goes to Japan, what happened with Mariko, Viper, did he even go to Japan? Because if Jean's alive, he has no reason to go to Japan. Like, there's no reason that that psychic girl would go to find him, because, you know, he's still an X-Man. Like, I just had all these questions. You know, I felt that in this movie there was a particular lack of flashbacks. Like, this is, so again, spoiler alert, this is about Wolverine's death. Like, obviously he's going to reflect on his life and all these freaking years that he's been alive. So, like, can we get some flashbacks, you know? Like, one interesting thing to talk about in the movie is his relationship with the other characters. One of them being Professor X. It is just so sad to see Professor X and Logan, both of them in this movie. They're both so broken. Like, Professor X is having these mental seizures that don't give him, he loses control over his powers, and he just screws up the minds of everybody in the room. And Logan gives him these pills that suppress the seizures, but at the same time it makes him, like, crazy. He just, when he takes them, he just babbles on like a crazy person in this room, and he's so incoherent. And then Wolverine himself he's aging, and for a reason unclear at the beginning, he's got this sickness he's not healing. The healing factor it's not completely gone, but it's not as effective as it's supposed to be. And later in the movie, he self-diagnoses himself and says that it's the adamantium that's probably killing him. So, yeah. And when X-23 comes into the picture. Now, all my real Dark Chocolate DX fans know that X-23 is my favorite character in all of comics. So, when I heard that she was going to be in this movie, I was stoked. Now, I'm not one of those people that believe that when a movie's making an adaptation of a character, that the character should be made exactly how they were in the comics. Because, you know, you're the writer, if you're writing for a movie and you have rights to the character, you should be able to make that character however you want. But, like, because I'm such a big X-23 fan, when I heard she was going to be in this movie, I wanted her from the comics to be brought to life in the movie exactly how she was the way I read her. So, when it comes to that, I don't feel like she killed it, but that's because of how they wrote X-23 to be in the movie. Like, her individual performance, portraying a mutant clone that was raised to be a killing machine, I think that she was brilliant. I mean, she's only 12 years old, so, like, watching her in the movie, you can't ask for much more. Honestly, I would say from an individual standpoint, she killed it. So I was very pleased with Daphne King. Very impressed. She was only 12 years old when she did this. Now, she's not, I don't think she's going to be in any film anytime soon. I believe I read somewhere that her parents wanted to focus on school, which kind of upsets me. But they don't have to use her. They could use like a teenage version and, like, you know, skip a few years in the future and use some other actors for that. So we'll see what the future holds for X-23 on the big screen. But as far as their relationship goes, now, the thing about comic X-23 is that she was raised to know absolutely nothing but killing. She was raised to be the ultimate murder machine. And that's not exactly what she is in this movie. She has feelings. She gets really upset when Logan dies. She's worried about what he's going to do when all of her friends go wherever in Canada. But it makes sense because the way they wrote X-23, she is apparently an X-Men fan. She, at some point, read X-Men comics, so it would make sense that she kind of views Wolverine as this hero father figure that she looks up to and wants to be with. That made sense, so I didn't have a problem with that. I thought that was actually pretty clever on their part.